Hello everyone, today we'll be talking about Article 9, that is advising of credits and amendment of UCP 600. Let's read A. A credit and any amendment may be advised to a beneficiary through an advising bank. An advising bank that is not a conforming bank advise the credit and any amendment without any undertaking to honor or negotiate. Okay, so the advising bank advises the letter of credit or amendment, if any, to the beneficiary that has been received by an issuing bank by taking advising charges. If the advising bank is not a conforming bank, then its duty will be only to advise the credit or amendment to the beneficiary. Okay. If the advising bank acts as a conforming bank, then it is liable to undertake to honor or negotiate the documents. Okay, but but if the advising bank is not a conforming bank, then it is solely responsible to advise the credit or amendment to the beneficiary. Now let's read B. By advising the credit or amendment, the advising bank signifies that it has satisfied itself as to the apparent authenticity of the credit or amendment, and that the advice accurately reflects the terms and conditions of the credit or amendment received. So, as we all know, the issuing bank issues a letter of credit or amendment, if any, to the advising bank. Okay, and almost all the else swift message that is related with letter of credit starts with mt7. Okay, so that is the authenticate message. Okay, and here what happens is when the advising bank receives the letter of credit or amendment from the issuing bank, it should check the swift code and the bank name whether it is tally or not. Okay, and it should even check the the message, uh, if the message has that it has received starts with mt7 or not. Okay, so that is how the advising bank satisfied itself about the apparent authenticity of the credit or amendment. Okay, and besides that, the advising bank should also check the terms and conditions of the credit or amendment that it received from the issuing bank. Okay, while issuing an letter of credit from the issuing bank, there might be some mistakes in the letter of credit, or or the amendment that it has done cannot be done. Okay, so many mistakes might be there, and it is the duty of the advising bank to check all those terms and conditions, and if there are any correction that needs to be done, it should inform to the issuing bank. Okay, now let's move on to C. An advising bank may utilize the services of another bank, that is second advising bank, to advise the credit and any amendment to the beneficiary. By advising the credit or amendment, the second advising bank signifies that it has satisfied itself as to the apparent authenticity of the advice it has received, and that the advice accurately reflects the terms and conditions of the credit or amendment received. E, sorry, in C, it mentioned that an advising bank can directly advise the credit to the beneficiary, even though there is second advising bank. Okay, here second advising bank means how come the second advising bank is the issuing bank might not have RMA relation with second advising bank, that is relationship management application with the second advising bank, and the beneficiary's bank might be second advising bank with whom it is going to negotiate the document. Okay, so that is why the second advising bank arises here in the LC. Okay, so the first advising bank can directly as a rule, the first advising bank advise the credit to the second advising bank, and then the second advising bank advise the credit to the beneficiary. But the advising first advising bank can utilize the services of second advising bank to advise the credit or amendment if there is to the beneficiary directly. Okay, as in B, the first advising bank must satisfy itself the apparent authenticity of the issuing bank, whereas in C, the second advising bank must satisfy itself the apparent authenticity of the first advising bank. Okay, because it has received the LC from the first advising bank, and the second advising bank must check all the terms and conditions of the credit or amendment it received as well. Now let's move on to D. A bank utilizing the services of an advising bank or second advising bank to advise a credit must use the same bank to advise any amendment thereto. Like the issuing bank, when it issues a letter of credit to the advising bank, which is known as, let me say, Standard Chartered Bank Singapore, then while while sending an amendment of the same LC, it should use the same bank, that is Standard Chartered Bank Singapore. Okay, now let's move on to E. If a bank is requested to advise a credit or amendment but elects not to do so, it must so inform without any delay the bank from which the credit amendment or advice has been received. It means if an advising bank is unable to advise a letter of credit or amendment to the beneficiary, then it must inform without any delay to the issuing bank that it is unable to advise a letter of credit or amendment to the beneficiary. Okay, now let's move on to F. If a bank is requested to advise a credit or amendment but cannot satisfy itself as to the apparent authenticity of the credit, the amendment, or the advice, it must so inform without delay the bank from which the instructions appear to have been received. It means if the advising bank cannot satisfy itself about the authenticity of the credit. I clarify you about the authenticity of the credit in like C, B and C. Okay, so if the advising bank is unable to satisfy itself about the authenticity of the credit, then it must inform to the issuing bank that it has received the LC or amendment. Okay, that it is unable to satisfy itself about the authenticity of the credit. Now let's read the last paragraph of F. If the advising bank or second advising bank elects non-delays to advise the credit or amendment, it must inform the beneficiary or second advising bank that it has not been able to satisfy itself as to the apparent authenticity of the credit, the amendment, or the advice. Now, if there is second advising bank, okay, the first advising bank must inform to the second advising bank that it could not satisfy itself about the authenticity of the credit, and the same message should be relayed to the beneficiary as well. Okay, so that is all about this article. Hope you like this video. If you do have any comment, please write it down. Thank you.